Welcome to Story Jam Theater. I'm your host, Chris Krimitsos. If you're moved and inspired by stories, then you're in the right place. On today's show, we have a really comical account from veteran storyteller Gary Teaney about a time he had to hire fast and fire even faster. Enjoy the show.
Thank you very much. The story I'm going to tell today is about when I was lucky enough to buy 2 radio stations that I was managing. And so I had to hire someone to handle the money and do the back office administrative office management details. And someone had been smart enough to tell me, hire slow and fire fast. So I really involved my entire team, all of my managers interviewing this person that was going to touch the money and hold the money and divvy out the money and make the payroll. So my managers were really excited about getting the right person there. And I even had my wife show up at a luncheon interview so she could just accidentally see her and meet her and get a feel for her. And I was using one of my clients who was a staffing service. So I'm all excited. I've hired her. And on Wednesday, I'm playing racquetball at 6:30 in the morning with a car dealer general manager. And I tell him about my new employee. And he says, "Oh, is her probation over?" And I go, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "Well, Gary, she was working at the bank and she embezzled money. And last I heard, she was still on probation." And I go, "What? Okay." So I called my buddy who owned the staffing company. I said, "Look, did you do a background check on her? She's the woman that's going to handle my money." So I said, no, here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring her into your office, not mine. We're going to interview her in front of you, and I'm going to have a conversation with her about what happened. So we bring her in, we don't let her know, and I spring it on her. "I heard you embezzled money from the bank, and you were or are on probation." And she tells me this horrible story years ago. Her abusive husband made her do it, and she's repented, and she's turned over a new leaf. And that's not the person she is now, she was. And I go, okay, everyone deserves a second chance. So is there anything else? No, there's nothing else. If there's anything else, now's the time to tell me. No, there's nothing else. I want you to stop and just think a second. Think of anything else that would be of a concern to me. No, there's nothing else. I said, "All right, I just want you to be clear. If there's nothing else, that's wonderful. But if there's something else, and I find out about it after you leave this room, it's over between us. Is that clear?" She said, "Yes, that's clear." And I said, "Okay, is there anything else?" "Nothing else." I go, "Okay, I decided, this happened years ago. I'm going to go ahead and hire." Friday, I'm at a Rotary luncheon, and I'm telling, the story of my new employee that's going to start on Monday. And the owner of a 32-store grocery chain goes, "Gary, what about all of her legal problems?" And I go, "Oh, she's on probation. She's handled that. She's turned over a new leaf after embezzling the money out of the bank." And he goes, "Bank? I was talking about the 12 computers she stole working for the software and computer company." I go, "What?" Now, that was a Friday at noon, and I was out of town at corporate putting the final deals on buying the 2 stations, and I had to have someone there while I was gone. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to be gone Monday and Tuesday. I'm coming back Wednesday. So I just didn't act like I knew anything. I get her started. I do the, show her everything. I count the petty cash out, and she's responsible for that in the safe. And off I go to Austin, Texas, and I tell my boss, the owner of the chain of radio stations where I'm buying the 2, "I need your help. I need your comptroller to come back to Texas, to Beaumont, Texas with me and be there when I fire her and go through the books and make sure she hasn't screwed something up." He goes, "Oh, Teaney, okay." So we fly back. I'm with the controller of the group. He's sitting in the office Wednesday morning, and I tell her what I found out about the computers. And she goes into a 5-minute story about and then she says, "And you can talk to my probation officer." And she reaches over and picks up the phone and calls her probation officer and then does a 5-minute story with him. And she hands me the phone. And he goes, "Can she hear me?" And I go, well, yes, but no, in fact, she can't. And he goes, did you see the movie of the however many faces of Eve? And I go, well, yes, actually I did. And he goes, she has more personalities than that. Run. And I'm going, well, I appreciate you saying good things about her, but I've already made up my mind, and I'm going to have to let her go. And I'm so sorry, but thank you for taking the time to share with me your thoughts. And I hung up the phone, and I said, I'm sorry, regardless of what he said just now, I'm going to have to fire you. And she jumps up and runs out of the office. And of course, the comptroller and I are going, what just happened? And then she comes back in with her checkbook. And she writes me a $120 check for the petty cash that she, quote unquote, used to buy office supplies, where we had an account where you didn't need to spend money because they billed us. And I realized something. Background checks are a good thing when you've got employees. And from that moment on, I did background checks and I discovered the value of hire slow and fire fast. Thank you.
To learn more about our storytellers, go to storyjamtheater.com. Make sure to live a life worth telling, and we'll see you next week.
This has been a Story Jam Theater podcast. Production support provided by Anthony Kovic of Real Video Production and Stuart Mackey of Mackey Productions. All stories are true as affirmed by the storytellers. Special thanks to the Film Commission of Florida, The Hive, and the Tampa Bay area.